And then at a certain point, you kind of wake up like, well, let me go do something, and then let me go take a nap. And so, like, I knew that I just wasn't getting there with sleep, and I used I used my watch, my phone, and then
Yeah.
I've got like a little bedside Google thing to kind of track snoring, and it would tell me like you're snoring like most of the night.
Hmm.
And so I knew I had to, not only for athletic performance, but for life, I
Yep.
knew I had to find a solution.
Thanks so much for jumping on the Hostage Tape Success Story
You got it.
podcast here. And yeah, let's get right into it. So, I guess, first of all, kind of maybe what issues were you having with sleep or that you were looking for a solution? And then kind of how did you stumble into this mouth taping thing?
Uh, Many and varied issues with sleep and just not sleeping. And so I'm a power lifter and I was a runner at one time. I kind of segued into sprinting now. But I just found my performance, my athletic performance suffering because I was always tired. And my wife told me that, of course, I snored, and so I'm trying to look for a solution to snoring. And she said one of her friends gave her a some sort of mouth strip
Hmm.
and said, she snores too, and she tried this, and so give this a shot. And I did, although it wasn't great quality. And it was just the one strip, so it was kind of a one-off. And then after it worked, I went online and I started looking for something a little bit more durable. And I happened to stumble upon hostage tape. And so I immediately jumped on that. And then just not too long ago, I got the nose strips also. So I'm kind of doing the double whammy
Yeah.
at night. Um, and it's working well thus far.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's neat because some people, like you said, some people maybe have a hint that they're not sleeping well or that sleep might be at the root of it. But did you kind of know that? Like, was that your feeling that the tiredness was a sleep issue?
Absolutely. So,
Hmm.
I used to wake up rather um, refreshed and ready to kind of crush the day. And then at a certain point, you kind of wake up like, well, let me go do something, and then let me go take a nap. And
Yeah.
so, like, I knew that I just wasn't getting there with sleep, and I used I used my watch, my phone, and then
Yeah.
I've got like a little bedside Google thing to kind of track snoring, and it would tell me like you're snoring like most of the night.
Hmm.
And so I knew I had to, not only for athletic performance, but for life, I
Yep.
knew I had to find a solution. And, and then of course, the best study ever is, my wife, like, yep, you were, yeah, all night. So sorry, sweetheart.
Yeah. And then what was that like? You mentioned trying. You got your hands on some tape that you tried out, and that worked. And so, was it the tracking, or did your wife let you know? How did that snoring change?
She let me know. And so, I knew I had a solution there right away.
Yep.
And so it was just, and of course, that morning when I woke up, I could feel the difference.
Hmm.
You really do feel the difference when you wake up refreshed.
Yeah.
It's You don't have to wait. It's not like taking supplements or anything. There's no waiting period, no nothing. You wake up that morning like, oh crap, this works.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the. I mean, it's one of the things that we love hearing, and that so many people experience is like that. Like you said, you don't have to wait for it to kick in. It's like, okay, put this on
No,
before you go to bed, and then see if you feel a difference when you wake up. So that's awesome that you were able to, I mean, both feel the difference, and then obviously, I guess your wife experienced the difference as well.
yeah, for her it's like, whew, thank God.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And had you tried other things? Like, I know there are different, whether it's supplements or, I mean, some people even go right to a CPAP machine if they feel like they're having issues. Had you tried other things, or was this kind of your, just jumping in with the tape?
Yeah, I tried some of the low cost solutions. If you go to Amazon and you look in under sleep aids,
Hmm.
there's I use some things that you shove up your nose to kind of expand the
Oh yeah,
nostrils.
yeah.
um, I had some mouth stuff, like a mouth guard. I
Hmm.
had a mouth guard that like moved my lower jaw forward,
Hmm.
and so I'd sleep with that all night. But then I'd wake up in the morning like, Jesus, dude.
Hmm. Yeah.
It just, a variety of like low cost solutions.
Yep.
But I looked into CPAP machines, and they were just, it was cost prohibitive for something that was a maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
So,
that's interesting. And then, I mean, you mentioned the tape first, and then, uh, what's been your experience with the nose strips as well? Because it's interesting, and people, I mean, what we're trying to communicate is that there's the, uh, if you struggle to nose breathe, that the mouth taping, can put you in a position where you're going to naturally do that, and then the nose strips can kind of augment that process. So, what was that like to use, one and then add the other, and how do you find that's working?
so I use kind of I guess I'm a triple threat. So I
Okay.
use like a neti pot. I live in
Yep.
Southern California, in San Diego, um, which for a while was not a problem, but it's been really windy lately, and there's pollen everywhere, and so I just found myself very clogged, and so I started using kind of a neti pot, and then on my way to bed, of course the mouth strip, but it wasn't until like 2 weeks ago I think that I got the nose strip,
Hmm.
and it's kind of like a force multiplier.
Yep.
The tape itself works really well, but then if you add that, then you're just twice as likely to get some success at night with some sleep. So it was nice to find just two kind of non-invasive solutions that are just really user friendly.
Yeah. No, and that's
That's
that's that's been the idea, and it's great. Yeah, like you said, something where it's like, yeah, you don't have to take something, you don't have to hook up some apparatus. It's it's fairly non-invasive. And then, did you have any? Some people get, I mean, it's fair enough, but they get anxious or they're worried about putting that thing. What was your kind of mindset going to that, or did you have any concern? And then how did you find the tape for, comfort, or just, overall like experience that way?
the tape itself is comfortable. It doesn't tear or.
Hmm.
Um, I will tell you that when I used the one that my wife gave me from a friend, it was just the one, and so it wouldn't stick as well the next day. And
Right.
so I used athletic tape
Mhm.
to kind of put it
Yeah. Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And that stuff can tear and leaves yourself red, but this stuff has been really good. But yeah, there was an element of like, am I going to be claustrophobic?
Hmm.
Am I going to start freaking out because
Yeah.
I feel like I can't breathe? But as long as I use the neti pot for up here, then you kind of have to train yourself
Hmm.
to not rely on this and then just rely on this mechanism.
Hmm.
And so it took, I don't know, a couple nights,
Yep.
but your body adapts pretty well.
Yeah.
And it especially if your body was intended just to use this thing, it kind of reverts back to that basic physiology. So it wasn't awful to have
Yeah.
that there.
That's great, and that's exactly
Yeah,
right. I mean, it's, by design, it's a better process to, utilize the nose breathing, but
yeah.
it's that weird thing where it's like, for a lot of us, it's easier. We default to the mouth breathing, and then when you think about it, you're like, oh my gosh, like, can I actually just breathe through my nose? So there is that weird transition. But yeah, our bodies are built to adjust. So.
It does take a little bit of trust
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
the process. But I'm here to tell your audience that got to give it a night or two, and trust that your body will do what's right for you, and
Hmm.
that it will take you from here to here. Everything else being equal, assuming you don't have any allergies or anything else going on.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
you can flop around in bed and whatnot, and it stays. The only issue I've had is if I don't if I let my little 5 o'clock shadow gets turn into a 3 or 4 day shadow, then sometimes the tape peels at the edge. So
Yeah.
works really well if you're clean shaven.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's funny because it definitely can work with the beards, and people have different, it's funny, we've got some, pictures with people with the big beards wearing it, but
Yeah.
obviously there's more factors when there's more facial hair for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But no, that's
Yeah.
great. That's great. And do I mean, you said you can feel the difference, and you notice that, but do you get into, like, you mentioned some tracking things? Do you track or that kind of thing, or do you get into the numbers at all with the snoring, or?
Not now. I just rely on my body in the morning.
Yep. Yep.
And I think
No.
that's all I need. I don't want to get too much into the weeds with numbers, and
Yep.
I think it just distracts from what you're just trying to do, which is just have a good night's sleep. And I don't want to overthink it, overanalyze it. So if I wake up in the morning like I did this morning, like, all right, let's go, crush this day.
Yeah.
That's all I
No,
need.
I'm the same. I'm the same
Yeah.
way. And I mean, some people I think kind of enjoy it, or like the analytical side, but I'm with you. It's like, if you can feel that something's working, you're like, okay, I feel different. This works, and it's
Yeah.
like, great. Let's get on with the day. Well, Mark, I
Yeah.
appreciate you coming on. Thanks so much for
You got it.
sharing a bit of your experience, and yeah, glad it's working for you. And keep up the good work and keep up the running
All right. Thanks, buddy. And lifting.
and lifting
All right. Thanks,
Right
buddy.
on.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.